Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. My guest today is Coach Kevin, who has coached over 40,000 people, spoken on 5 continents, completed a half Ironman, served as an elected official in Louisiana, navigated divorce and remarriage, and built a life centered around faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. Sounds good to me. So today we are going to talk about ego mastery, perfect imperfection, integrated success, and what it really takes to build $1 million business without burning down your life in the process. Welcome, Kevin, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Thank you. So happy to be here, and I'm excited for the conversation.
Me too. Now, Kevin, I know that you have done a lot of different things in your life. How did you end up in elite coaching?
I was a client because I was one of the clients who had all the success, but this didn't really like my life. And you're sitting there and you've ticked all the boxes, and then magically you didn't become happy and you're not really sure why. And now my first marriage is failing, and my second marriage started, and I was extremely happy there. But I realized that I hadn't resolved the problems from the first one. I'm like, I'm still in this marriage, even though it's a new person and it's a new match, but actually I'm still the same guy. And so I started going to events to figure out, like, okay, how do I grow through who I am? And I just kept going and eventually started leading and eventually started coaching and then started running my own events. And I mean, it became not an obsession, but it was really my calling. And so I found this by being a participant and realizing, wow, this really works. Like getting into an event with a coach, especially a live experiential event, it matters because you can learn with your whole self. Like when you're having experiences and you're there in real life, your subconscious mind your mind is easy. If I say point to your mind, everyone will point to the same place. It's essentially right about where your prefrontal cortex is, right behind your eyes up here. So that's your mind, where your conscious mind, kind of, I guess, biologically exists. Your subconscious mind is every other cell of you, right? It's all the rest of you, right? I mean, most people will point different places, but it's really all of you. And so anytime you can have a full body experience, you can do something. That's when you're really learning, and you're learning beyond just, it's not like reading. It's not like I have an intellectual experience. You have the full experience.
So true. So most spiritual or leadership places talk about dissolving the ego. You talk about training it. So what does a trained ego look like, and what is the cost of an untrained ego?
Yeah. So it's really funny because I think most, even though they talk about dissolving or getting rid, here's the thing: you cannot become an adult without creating an ego. Like you will end up with an ego, right? Like it's in fact, if you don't, you've really done something wrong because you aren't differentiating yourself from your surroundings. So as a child, we grow. And then when we hit maturity, let's say 25, I don't know, I'm just randomly guessing, it's different for everybody, but we'll have a really well-developed ego. Like, this is who I am, and here's what I'm good at, and here's what I do, and here's how I do things and how I think, right? At that point, we typically think we are our thoughts. And sure, everyone needs to break out of that cage, because the second that we form an ego, it becomes this cage and this limiter and this really, egocentric, for lack of a better word, thing, right? But so few people, even when they transcend the ego, say, okay, I'm going to get past the ego. That exists for a reason, right? So I'll do it in terms of like my hands, right? Because it's so much simpler in terms of hands, right? I have hands. These are tools that I can use to manipulate things, to move things. I can pick this up, I can put it down, I can caress, I can poke, I can punch, whatever. These hands work for me, right? They're part of me. They are me, but they're a part of me. I have never been confused, right, that I am my hands. Not ever, because my hands are on the outside. They're part of me. I look at my hands and I think, oh, okay, these are my hands. Like these are a part of me, but they're not me. My whole self is not a hand, right? Your mind or your ego is really the same thing, because it's a part of you. It's a tool. It's this incredible survival tool that does all of this thinking and everything else for you, right? And you need it. It's essential. Like you must have it. You're not going to do well in life without it. Um, but you can transcend it. And here's what I think: a lot of people are just like, oh, I don't want to have an ego. Great, good. Break out of the ego. Break out of that sense that you're the center of everything. But the part of you, the mind that created the ego, is also a tool that you can turn around and use. And I can now say, hey, not only am I not the center of the ego, I mean, the center of the universe, but hey, what is Claudia thinking? What is her perspective? You know, what she just said, I just really disagree with that. But what would I have to believe to agree with her? And then all of a sudden you can gain this powerful perspective on life. And I have a tool that I teach people all the time called the Spark, that helps you to bend, to look at differing opinions from your own, right? You have a kind of a default belief and you kind of look at other beliefs and then you prove them. You say, well, how could that be true? And it helps you to turn around and use that ego to then create your life. Because the truth is, every single person is already creating their life. Most of us are kind of doing it on default. We're not doing it on purpose. We're just kind of riding and reacting. You know, we're just a giant reaction to whatever's happening around us. But that is one way to create. If you want to create your life that way, great. I mean, that's your choice. It's your life. You get to do whatever you want. But very few of us do it on purpose. And when we come back, you know, yes, we all must create an ego to be an adult. If we want to be an evolved or powerful person, right, or someone who really gets things done, you're going to have to break the ego. But man, the top level of the game is turn around then and use the ego. Now let my mind go do things for me. Like let it go do work for you. Don't just break it and then pretend like that's the end. Like, hey, let's go put it to work, right? Just like my hands. I've never been confused that I am hands. I put them to work for me all the time. And I've gotten better and better at it. And we can use our mind and our ego, which end up in the modern world really being synonymous, mind and ego. We can use it that way and train it instead of just pretend like we're all supposed to be meditating for 14 hours every day and exist like that. I mean, I guess that would be great. It sounds kind of boring to me, but yeah, you know, create with it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the ego got a bad rap over the years. But I think, as you said, it can be an amazing tool, because I think of it as a set of filters. Like you have your beliefs and they filter everything that you experience and help you explain how you see the world. But you can shift those filters. So if you don't like what you see, you can shift those filters and you will see something different. And that's how you can, well, manipulate your experiences if you want, and create them more, well, less by default and more by design. So.
Well, right. And most people think of themselves as like this radio antenna, right? And they're listening to certain things and they're receiving messages from the world. And I don't mean in some weird way. I mean, like just on the screen right now, I see you, or I hear things with my ears, right? But you're also a broadcast beacon. Like you're also sending out a signal, right? And your signal affects the signals around you. So yeah, decide who you want to be. And ego, on the one hand, my ego is my enemy, because if I become controlled by it, and if I start thinking that I am my thoughts and I am whatever random thing is happening here, which, you know, most of our thoughts are total crap. I mean, most of our thoughts are just random bull crap. Like just, it's a giant, your head is a giant threat detector and it just has all these weird thoughts, you know? But if I start thinking this is who I am, sure, my ego is my enemy, right? But my ego is my amigo also, right? Because my ego also lets me kind of see who I am, and I can learn from other people. If I'm in control, if I'm being controlled by my mind or by my ego, then that's a really bad thing. But if I'm using it as a tool and I am using the tool, that's a wonderful thing. That works, and that's what we want. Anger is kind of the same thing. Like it's an emotion that gets a lot of bad rap in the modern world. Anger is incredibly useful as long as it's not in control of you, right? So yeah, being controlled by your anger is horrible. Like that's a terrible way to live, and you end up being this real negative piece of society. But that doesn't mean we just delete all anger. And anger is the energy of change. Like when I get knocked down, a lot of times anger is what gets me back up. And that's great. as long as I'm in check with it, as long as it's me letting the anger do things in control, and I'm using this purposefully, I'm not just blindly angry and flailing like a little child.
Yeah, as long as you can use it as a fuel and
That,
understand that it just signifies that someone has maybe crossed your boundaries
yeah,
and you understand what it means, right?
the
And then
number of top entrepreneurs, when I say, hey, why'd you start this, right? They have multi-million dollar businesses. Why'd you start this? Because, and then just insert somebody, my brothers or my friends or everyone. My brother said this, I couldn't do it. And
yeah.
I got angry and I said, I'm doing it. And like, that's a crazy thing. And you're like, wow, this company's doing like 80 million a year right now. And it was because his brother said he couldn't do it. But
Mm,
that's anger channeled usefully, you
yeah.
know,
And that's a story you hear often, right?
it
But
is.
another thing that we often hear from high achievers is perfectionism, or another trait that we see a lot is perfectionism. So, talk to me about powerful imperfection versus the common perfectionism.
Yeah. So here's how to be perfect. If you want to be perfect, I'll give your audience a little tip. Like this is 100% useful and 100% accurate. And I'm not overconfident. I know exactly the truth of this. If you want to be perfect, you only have to do one thing, and that is lie. Just lie.
Mm,
Like perfection is a lie, right? I will tell you why it's a lie, because perfection is something that we create in our mind. It is a waypoint. So when I'm walking outside, right? If I'm outside and I'm walking through a field, I see the horizon, and the horizon is where the sky meets the ground, right?
yeah.
Um, in my mind, that's what it is. It isn't really that. Actually, the sky is hitting the ground everywhere. Like anywhere I am, the sky is also hitting the ground. It's not like the sky's way out there, right? But my mind creates the horizon as what? As a navigation point, right? If I walk 10,000 miles, I would see the horizon every step of those 10,000 miles. I would never what? Touch the horizon. The horizon is a great navigation point. In fact, I was a pilot for a while. You the horizon is massively important if you're a pilot, right? Even if there's clouds, there's a little mechanical horizon to help you understand, like, hey, here's where the horizon is. It's massively useful, but it's not a real place. You can
Hmm.
never stand on the horizon, right? Perfection is the same thing. So perfection can be incredibly useful in our life as a standard. We have an idea of what is the perfect scenario or the perfect answer to any given situation. Awesome. But remember, that's not a real place. That's just something you just made up in your mind. In fact, the more you learn about something, the farther away from perfect you'll get, because, if I asked you, hey, what are you pretty good at shooting a gun? You would have a certain list of like, oh, okay, yeah, I mean, I know how to pull the trigger. If I ask like the top snipers at the top military institutes, they have like a 50-point checklist of things, and they know exactly how they know more problems than we've
Hmm.
ever even considered. So
True.
they're actually further from perfect. Like, well, I'm pretty good on the ground, but out of a helicopter, it's hard. And then I don't really do it really well on water. And none of us have even thought about shooting that way, right? So what we want to understand is that perfection is a lie, right? Excellence is achievable. So instead of embracing like I want to be perfect, try to be powerfully imperfect. Meaning, hey, am I moving the needle? Am I making things happen even though I'm imperfect? Of course I'm not going to be perfect. I see perfection, great, because it gives me somewhere to go. But I want to be powerfully imperfect. Powerfully
Mm.
imperfect means things are happening. I'm getting shit done. I'm moving the needle, right? And I'm not pretending like everything is dependent on, if I'm not perfect, then I can't do anything. That's crazy. My 11-year-old told me the other day, and this is a condemnation of what, people weren't meant to compare themselves to 8 billion other people, right?
Right.
And so my son is 11. His daughter, his older sister, my daughter, is on scholarship for running, and so we were watching her run, and I was like, hey, maybe one day you're going to be a runner. He
Mm.
literally answered, Dad, Usain Bolt is so fast, I'm never
Yeah.
going to be that fast, so I'm not going to even try. I'm not even going to
Aw,
run.
that's sad.
And I'm like, wait, because one guy is the fastest in the world, you're never even going to try? I'm like, when he was 11, he wasn't the fastest.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting, we play this, and as entrepreneurs and as high achievers, we play this game all the time. Well, if it's not perfect, don't ship it. Let me tell you something, ship it. Like, ship it, because a lot of products weren't perfect, and then iterated. A lot of things, like the Model T was not the end all best car for all time, but man, it worked, and it worked a heck of a lot better than a horse. And so they shipped it, and they shipped it again and again and again. Was it perfect? No, but it was powerfully imperfect. It
Mm.
was powerfully imperfect.
Done is better than perfect.
Yes.
And the more mistakes you make and the more feedback you get, the better you get at producing something that's close to the vision you had in the beginning, which, as you said, should be more like a powerful destination that's calling you. I don't know how to say
Or
that.
you might even find out that the destination you had was the total wrong one in the first place. So
Yeah,
so
exactly.
3M created the most successful office product of all time, right? Which was the sticky note. Like it's like more sticky notes have been bought and sold as far as like physical office products than just anything else. I mean, it's better than the paper clip, it's better than the ink pen. The sticky note is the king. Like it's amazing, right? The project to create the sticky note was initially a project to make the world's strongest glue.
Ooh,
Okay.
okay.
It didn't work, right?
Yeah.
But in fact, they created a glue that was so weak that the engineers were dipping the tips of their pages and putting it on the wall. And they realized that the glue was so weak, it didn't leave a residue. And so
Mm.
one of the other people in 3M who wasn't part of the project came over and was like, "Hey, how are you writing all these notes on the wall?" Like, well, this glue is so weak, it doesn't leave a residue. And boom, there was the product, right? Like wildly successful product that actually was way off the mark for what they thought they were doing. They thought they were doing this. Turns out they were doing
Mm.
that, right? And again, if you've been an entrepreneur for very long, that's the game. I mean, that's the game. You think you know what you got, but you don't know what you got until you got it. I mean, that's just what it is.
That's a cool story. Thank you so much for sharing. I hadn't heard that one. So cool. A lot of our listeners are high performing entrepreneurs, but their lives just sometimes feel like they're split into different compartments. Maybe their business is thriving, but their body is neglected, their relationships are strained, and maybe their spirit just feels empty and lost. So, why does fragmentation so often happen at higher levels of success?
Yeah. So this is fun. I love this one because it gets right into like life work balance. Or, I mean, first off, balance, I think, is kind of a myth too. It's a lot like
Mhm.
perfection. If anything is balanced, it's probably going to fall over. Right. So we
Mhm.
don't really want balance in our life. We want harmony. We want, what song am I singing? Right. And at different parts of my life, I'm singing different songs. Used to be, I had 5 young kids or 4 young kids in the house. I was singing a certain song. Most of them have left the house, and now I'm left with one 11-year old. That's a whole different song in my house now that I'm singing, right? My house doesn't function the same now as when I had 4 small kids. So I really think that the first concept of like fragmentation, the first thing to realize is that isn't possible. You're not really fragments. It's very useful, and I do this all the time, to look at your life like I look at it as fitness, faith, family, finance, and fun, because it
Mhm.
helps me get a handle on, okay, what are the different aspects I want to work on. But I have to also remember that I am just one integrated whole. My life is my life, right? So if it's not like, well, I put $1 million in the bank this year, so it's okay that I'm so fat I'm going to have a heart attack. It's not like a good trade. It isn't
It's not
when
a
we
good
start feeling like that's so what we want to say
strategy.
is like, hey, where am I in fitness? Where am I in faith? Right? Whatever we believe is the unseen, right? Whether that's God or the universe or just science, even just like, the space between it all. Where are we in our interpersonal relationships? Where are we in finances? Because that matters. And then, are we even enjoying it? So when I say fun, you could really replace that with joy, right? It's because I look at these 4 aspects and then think, okay, am I doing all of this successfully and enjoying my life? Because I'm going to tell you, if you have a great body, you have a great business, you have a great marriage, you have a great relationship with God, and you hate yourself, that's not
Mm.
winning. Like that's you're probably lying on some of these other ones, but that's not winning. Like I want to do all of that and have joy and feel fulfilled in my life. And so for entrepreneurs, it's a good way to look at it. I mean, it is, because we can be very imbalanced, and that's okay, because you have to be, right? In the very beginning, if you're a startup, you better be in balance to sales and marketing, right? And as you mature a little bit, you better be in balance to delivering and making sure your customers are happy. And there's never true balance, but man, you definitely want to make sure you're not leaving something completely behind, because it's I see a lot of guys who make the millions and then they lose the love of their life because
Yeah.
they always just kind of took that for granted, and you just don't want to do that.
No.
But that's not a fragment. That's part of the whole, right? So when we walk, we take steps, right? And it's
Mhm.
left foot, right foot, but those aren't fragmented sections of walking. That's walking. I mean, walking is kind of a dance between two things. And I think life is this dance, between these four aspects, plus are we enjoying it? So for me, it's five aspects. That isn't fragmented. That's just how those are the pieces that matter.
Mm. Yeah, I think those compartments are useful for having regular, say, mini audits, just, a little audit of your own life, because sometimes there's just a slippery slope and you don't realize when you neglect one of those areas more and more, and then you end up in a place where you never want to be. So I feel they are useful. Um, but as you said, you still are one person. So
If you think about most people, right? So what most people um they have certain engines in their life. So if you look at fitness, faith, family, finance, and fun, there's certain ones that are really good. Like they're really good. They're strong, right? That maybe they make a ton of money, or maybe they're really, connected to God, or maybe they just have a ton of fun in their life. And then, so imagine if you're a boat, right? So like if your life was a boat, then maybe for you, you're a guy who's like fitness and finance. Those are awesome. So those are the engines of the boat, right? So what happens with family and interpersonal relationships? What happens with faith? Well, they're kind of like anchors because they're not
Mhm.
going anywhere. Like they're not working. And what happens for most people is they love working on the engines. Why? Because they get us, they move us. I mean, we're great at that. If I'm good at business, I love going to work and I love being a business. If I'm bad at relationships and I'm good at business, I'm probably spending a lot more time at work than at home, right? Because
Mhm.
I feel weak and weird over here, and I feel strong, and I make things happen over there, right? What most people don't realize though is, if the boat has three anchors down in the mud, the solution to that isn't build a bigger engine. I mean, you can do that, but the solution to that is get the anchors up off the bottom. The same engine and the things you're good at, but if you can actually focus on those weaker areas, it doesn't take as much to move the boat forward faster, right? If
Mm.
the boat's tied to the dock, the solution to that is not buy a bigger engine. The solution is untie, right? And so it's being willing to face that. For me, I keep five outcomes at all times. So I keep about every 90 days. Sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's 90 days, but about every 90 days, I'm reassessing. Hey, what's
Mhm.
my next step in fitness? What's my next move in faith? What's my next move in? I mean, honestly, even being on this podcast is part of my faith outcomes. I realize I just don't participate in the larger conversation in social media. Like for me, who I am, I mean, I'm light in the night. I wake the sleeping giants, and I'm not speaking on the internet at all because I have a lot of in-person clients. But I realized, man, that's out of alignment, right? So even just being here is part of that goal. But I'll have one in fitness, faith, family, finance, and fun. All five every 90 days to say, hey, am I moving the needle? And when you
Mm.
do that, it's just awesome. Like it just feels good.
Yeah, it's really important to reassess those goals because they can also shift, right?
Oh,
Over
100%. Yeah, 100%. What was fun for
time.
me 20 years ago is not so fun anymore.
No.
What family was 10 years ago is not what it is today. And that's by reassessing constantly, you can constantly take the next step in your life.
Yeah. Now, you have built this successful coaching business. Still, what's the hardest part of growing your business right now? And where do you feel tension or resistance in this current season?
it's, it's with the advent of AI and what's happening in technology right now. I remember way back in the day when I first was, maybe I was 18 and building computers. You would get a computer and it had a certain processor, and you could actually overclock the processor. So you could do these things that put a little more power into the processor, and you could run the processor faster than it was designed to do. And it was cool because you got extra speed out of your computer. But if you did it wrong, it would just melt, and then
Mm.
then you burn the whole computer. I think right now, and I can feel it in our psyche and in our brains, this whole AI revolution is overclocking all of us. If you're an entrepreneur right now, you just feel, man, and we're running. Everybody's running right now. Nobody's sleeping. Everybody's
Yeah.
running. but But I remember what happened to those computer chips. Eventually, if you keep doing that, it melts down. And so I think we all feel the pressure of this new reality, of this new thing that knows everything all the time and can read everything in 10 seconds, and feeling like that's competition instead of a tool that I use. Again, if I feel like it's a tool that's here to help me and that I can use effectively, maybe I can sleep well at night. If I think as an entrepreneur, there's so many jobs, right? You have so many people usually start their own business to not have a boss and to not have a job. They'll say that I'm tired of having a job and I don't want to have a boss, right? And then they become an entrepreneur and they realize they have 17 jobs,
Yeah.
right? And they have like 100 bosses because every client now is a boss. So you traded one job and one boss for 100 bosses and 17 jobs. For me, that makes me happy. I enjoy that, but it's messy and it can be really. You can feel pulled in a lot of directions. Not because you feel it, but because you really are pulled in a lot of directions.
True. Now, it gets harder and harder to stand out in a sea of noise online, especially with all the new AI slop everywhere. So how do most of your clients find you these days?
So I am the most IRL in real life coach ever. As everybody built funnels and social media presences, I just ran events. I mean, I've done over 150 live events. Most of my current clients just literally know someone who knows me. I mean, we've really met in real life. And it's a worldwide network at this point. So it's not small. I'm actually, again, here on socials to kind of say, hey, I think I have something to say for a bigger audience. Now, I mean, I'm very happy with my clients. I'm very happy with where I am in coaching, but I think it's time for the world to embrace powerful imperfection. Stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to keep up with everyone. The thing is, you don't have to keep up with everyone. They're not going where you want to go. I remember there was this movie, and I don't even remember the name of it. I know Matthew McConaughey was in it. That's about it. So maybe it was a rom-com. I don't know. But at a point in this movie, they're lost in the desert, right? They find this like weird dune buggy, but it has no engine. And this guy figures out how to put a sail on this dune buggy. The wind takes it. And all of it's working, right? I mean, they're just flying through the desert. The wind is taking them. And one of the characters says, "Where are we going?" And the other guy says, "I have no idea, but we're making great time." And I think a lot of people right now, they're making great time. Where are we going? No idea where we're going, right? I mean, remember, you don't have to keep up with someone who's not going where you want to go, right? A lot of people are running someone else's race, and figure out who you are. Figure out what it is you want to do, and then run at that. I mean, run hard at it. It'll make you feel great.
Now, when you work with a high achiever who's burned out and struggling, what's the first thing you help them fix?
So there's two things. One, where are you really? A lot of high achievers won't even admit that they're burnt out or struggling. It's more like, hey man, I'm good. I just need the next level, right? And then you kind of dig just a little bit, and suddenly, they're breaking down crying, or they're exposing, or hey, I'm not good. I'm just kind of holding it together. So I think the first thing is really admit where you really are to yourself, or to a coach, or to someone who you really trust. Really, just really, where are you really? What are you loving? What are you not loving? Nobody in their life loves everything. Nobody in their life hates everything, right? That's silly. I mean, that's great movie, but it's not really how life works. And so really admit where you really are, and then get clear on where you really want to go. And then from there, life gets pretty fun. And then you can navigate. If you think about what is a coach is a horse-drawn carriage, right? I mean, that's what a coach is. And it brings you from some place to another place. And so as a coach, that's really my job, is where are you really? And where do you really want to go? And for those of you who will say right now, well, I don't know. Well, here's something to think about. If you don't know what you want, you already have it. And if you don't know where you want to go, you're already there. So look around. Maybe you love it, and maybe that's great. I mean, maybe that works for you. But, if you don't know where you're going, you're there. And if you don't know what you want, you have it. Look around. Is that really what makes you happy? Is that really what you want? I hope the answer is yes, right? But if it's no, cool, then I got to get really serious about where I really am. And then where do I really want to go? So many people are pretending to be somewhere they're not, maybe for social media. And I feel like the internet was like the one place we could tell the truth. And it immediately became like filters and angles and, and AI enhancements. And, it's too bad. I understand it because I'm looking at myself in the camera and I'm like, oh, this is wrong. And this is patchy and I should have shaved. And, but the truth is, this is like the one place where you could be you. And there's other people who probably like you just like how you are. But instead, we kind of started to hide ourselves. And the danger for that to you has nothing to do with society, is for you, because if I'm pretending to be something I'm not, and then I'm pretending to want something I don't want, I'm going to constantly be unhappy. Like I'm going to constantly be unhappy. I'm going to constantly feel frustrated. If you're pretending to be in Georgia and you ask me for directions to North Carolina, I can give them to you. But if you're not really in Georgia, they're not going to do you much good. Right. You can't follow that path. And I see a lot of people pretending to be somewhere in life, then setting this crazy goal that makes no sense, and then being really frustrated they can't cross the gap. Like if you're an entrepreneur and this is your first business, that first $1,000 is not sexy, but it's so much more important than 10 million or 1 million. Or nowadays, like everybody, my 11-year-old wants to make $1 billion. Like everyone, thanks, Elon. Sure. Everybody wants to be a billionaire now. But I'm like, man, if you haven't made $1,000, there's no point even thinking about $1 million. Right. And once you've made 10,000, cool, let's go to 100,000. Once you've made 100,000, okay, now let's shoot for $1 million. From 1 million, you can go to 2 million, 2 to 5, 5 to 10. Now from 10, you can jump to 50. From 50, you can jump to 100. And from 100, now you can put $1 billion on your radar. But those are kind of natural steps that you'll see. I didn't make that up. I don't have some magic formula. You coach enough people and you see those are the jumps people make. They'll jump from 1 to 2. And then at 2, they find out in a really hard way that making 5 isn't the same as making 2. You can pretty much, you can hardcore hustle 1 or 2 million, but then hustle's over. And to get to 5 or 10, it's all systems. It's all people, other people, not you, other people and systems, right? And then 10 to 50 is just optimizing those. And then it's all different games, but you really see that pattern. I mean, it's like 100K, 250, 500, 1 million, 1 jumps to 2, 2 jumps to 5, 5 to 10. And then I don't know what it is, but once you made 10, 50 seems to be the really, like a lot of people who make 10 either sit there for a long time or they go to 50. And so if you're at the, I made $100,000 game last year, embrace making 250 next year, because that's going to be the gate to making 500 after that. And that's going to be the gate. Now, look, maybe you get lucky. There's lots of places where people will spurt ahead of that. But the truth is you're more likely to make $1 million shooting for the thing that you really can do rather than shooting for some pie in the sky thing. I mean, the number of people who have goals to make $1 million and they've never made 100,000 just makes me laugh. Like if you've never made 100 grand, you're not going to make $1 million. Like you don't know how. You haven't earned it. You haven't done the groundwork to feel that. And hey, for all of you who are laughing at me and saying you want to be a billionaire, I've coached billionaires, okay? And every billionaire I've coached, which is several, at some point was backwards and owed 300, 400, 200, $500 million. And so when you say, I want to be a billionaire, you want to be broke at negative 300 million? Because all of them I know at some point were in this crazy place where the billion hadn't come yet and some other bill was due. That's a lot of tension. Like you don't get to just get the ups, right? So for your struggling entrepreneurs out there, when you're on the downs, awesome. Like that's just part of the game. Like being an entrepreneur is up and down. Like I wake up, I'm going to be a billionaire. At 10 a.m., I'm going to live under a bridge. And by noon, I'm back to kind of where I already am, right? Like it's kind of how it goes. We don't really live in the present as entrepreneurs. We live in the future. We go visit the future and then we come back and we get really mad that the present doesn't look like what we saw in the future. But, it's just what it is.
Yeah, it is a roller coaster for sure. Now, what are your personal high performance habits that make sure that you stay happy, healthy, and productive? So what are your non-negotiables?
So for me, I have a set of habits that I do every day. I call it the fire starter. And it's 10 habits that it's non-negotiable for me every day. It's the fire starter, not the fire finisher. So it's in the morning. I spend anywhere from 1 to 2 hours, but usually it's closer to an hour, right? Every day I'm going to sweat. Every day I'm going to bring in something very nutritious, like high density, nutritious food as a symbol of like, hey, I'm in control of what I put out. I'm in control of what I take. Every day, I'm going to send a message of love and to someone else in my life. So I send a message to my wife. I send a message to someone else, either my kids or someone else in my life, a message of love, a gratitude or appreciation. Every day I study something that's useful to me to move forward in my life. And I mean, actually useful, not just like the cool book that everyone's reading, but what's actually useful to me right now. And every day I'll share what I studied. So whatever I studied, if I have that actionable insight, I'll tell someone and I'll teach them about it. Like, hey, I just realized I need to be doing this. Because, you know, the final step of learning is sharing because we're social creatures. I meditate every day. I journal every day. That takes many forms. So there's no one form for that. You have to find the piece that works for you. Every day I also do something called review, which is take score. I actually mark down, did I do these things? Because we're terrible at it.
I know.
I mean, if I ask someone, how many push-ups can you do? Right. Half of the people tell me a number and then they double it if I tell them to do push-ups. And then the other half of the people give me the number and they can't do half of that many, right? So we tend to either overestimate or underestimate the reality. So just keeping score in my life matters, right? And then every day I do this tool called the Spark, which is designed to help me turn around and use my ego as a tool to make sure that my mind is sharp and make sure that my mind is open and considering not just some false dichotomy of this or that, but considering the world of possibilities around me.
I like that. That sounds like a great set of habits.
Yeah, and what's fun about them is they're a set of kind of buckets for habits. They're not a thing, right? There's a million ways to meditate. Cool, whatever works for you. That could just be prayer. Awesome. Is prayer meditation? Sure, like whatever works for you. But that moment of pause and giving yourself space, essential for every human. Like how you do it, hey, make that fit you. Don't do what I do, right? How do you sweat? Like how are you lifting? Are you biking? Are you running a triathlon? Hey, I don't care, but I just know that striving physically matters, no matter what age you are, no matter what stage of life you're in, right? What's your greens nutrition point, right? Is it a green smoothie? Is it supplements? Is it medicine? I don't care. But hey, what is it that you need to take into your body? Because we got to output, but we also have to take in. So those habits for me are just essential, and each person needs to get that for them. You know, I struggled, man. I've struggled with being overweight a lot of my life. But at the same time, I could do crazy workouts. I could do all of this output. You know, I ran an Ironman 70.3 at 320 pounds. I mean, that's not a normal thing. That's unusual. I started that training at 311 pounds. I was like, oh, I'll do this race. It'll make me lose weight. And I actually gained weight and finished the race. Okay. So, but all of that time, I was taking plans built by other people for their circumstances and forcing my body through it. And so it never really worked. And so just really recently in the last 2 years, I started saying, well, what's up with me? Like, what's happening with me? It doesn't make any sense. Like I would go to doctors and they're like, this makes no sense. Like you should have diabetes or you should be in really great shape. Like you don't make sense. Like these numbers, you shouldn't be able to do this if you're this unhealthy. Right. And so we finally started to see, oh, wow, you have an insulin sensitivity problem. Like, oh, so then I started really tuning into like intermittent fasting and let's do things that hit the insulin problem. Well, what do you know? I start trimming down. Like all of a sudden I start getting all these results. Why? Because now I was playing the game that suited my body. Okay. I also did a lot of workouts and stuff, but I was playing a game for someone who didn't have insulin sensitivity as a person who did, which guess what? Will create the most frustrating results of your whole life. Because if you don't handle that underlying problem, you're never going to get anywhere.
True.
You're just going to learn to run fat. You're not going to ever get thin. You're not going to ever get fit, which is what I did. And I couldn't understand it. But man, once I started to tune what I was doing to me and not to the whole world, this isn't what works for 8 billion people. Side note, there's nothing that works for 8 billion people. Nothing. Not like, I don't even care what religion you are. Think about this. There's no dominant religion on the earth. Zero, none. Like there's no religion that the majority of people on the earth believe. Even that, something so fundamental as that, right? Even what do we think is God? So there's no one thing that works for everybody all the time. right? And even if you say, oh, but this, okay, but every person has to interface with that as themselves. And so as a coach, what I've seen is, yes, there are certain things that work for people, but boy, they better make it match their life.
Yeah.
Right. If 3 people want to run a marathon, and one of them is a 12-year-old, and one of them is a 40-year-old, and one of them is 26, right? And they're all in different, there's 3 different programs there. There's 3, even though it's the same outcome, even though it's the same, there's vastly different things they're going to need to do. There's vastly different mindsets they're going to have to adopt. And when I see people extremely frustrated, it's because they're trying to do a thing they want the way they saw someone else do it, but they're not that person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a big guy. You can't really tell on this podcast, but I mean, I'm 6'3". For a long time, I was like 330 pounds. Right now, I'm about 300 pounds. Everything's working because guess what? I'm doing something for me right now. But I remember when I started jujitsu, I'm about 330 pounds. I'm 6'3". I'm fighting these littler guys, and I just out of my whole life, people are like, "Oh, you're big. Don't hurt them." You know what I mean? So I'm being really nice. Like, I'm not putting all my body weight on them. I'm kind of like trying not to smash people. And I'll never forget my coach, Coach Eddie, comes over and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "Why aren't you just laying on him?" I'm like, "Well, I'm a really big guy." He's like, "Yo, you have one advantage right now. That guy's so much better than you. The only advantage you have in this world is you're big. And you're telling me you won't use that advantage? Like, you think that's all you think that if you just lay on him, he loses?" He's like, "Oh my gosh, he got on top of me to lay on the guy, right? Who then got out, no problem." But it was a real eye-opening moment for me to realize that, like, wow, I'm not using who I am. Like, oh wow, I am a big guy. So a big guy needs to act a certain way. And a little guy in that fight has to act a different way. But why am I not even acting like who I am? Because I have some weird imaginary thing of like, well, this is how it's supposed to be. But that's not who I am. I am the big guy with way less skill than anybody I'm fighting. So that gives me a certain set of choices. And I see entrepreneurs all the time. They see this new thing on YouTube, right? Like, it's open claw, you know, but they've never done anything with AI. They've never done anything with programming. And all of a sudden they're like, "I'm going to do this." It's like, well, what? Like, does that really fit who you are? Can you really do that truly? Right? Or do you need to hire for that and find someone else? But so many people try to apply solutions for other people, and then they can't figure out why they don't get the results. Like, well, you're not them.
Yeah.
You're not them.
Yeah, you need a personalized plan. That's for sure. So last but not least, where can our listeners find you online if they would like to learn more about you or connect with you?
Sure. Hey, I'm on pretty much all socials. I'm at It's Coach Kevin. Also, you can check out Apogee Strong. So we are starting we have over 150 schools throughout America, Canada, and Australia. Little micro schools, really trying to reform education and have an education system that builds leaders and strong-minded individuals instead of just people who follow rules.
Awesome. Kevin, thank you so much for sharing all your tips and insights with us today. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you.
So keep up the great work. Take care and talk soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please take a sec to rate and review my show or share it with a friend. That way you can support the show and help me reach and support other entrepreneurs like yourself as well. If you would like my help to figure out how you can go from overwhelmed and overworked hustler to empowered and confident leader, check out my website at www.wiredforsuccess.solutions and book a free 20-minute strategy session with me. Can't wait to help you get wired for success. Until next time, take care. Bye.